When you see an avoidant after a period of no contact, something fascinating happens beneath the surface, something they will never say out loud, yet it shapes every moment of that interaction. The very instant they lay eyes on you again, their emotional world shifts, even though their face might stay unreadable. They feel the impact, but they hide the impact. Because avoidants don't reveal emotion first. They reveal it in fragments, in flickers, in tiny signs they believe no one can see. Their first response is silence, not a cold silence, but a calculating one. They are assessing you, measuring the moment, scanning the room for emotional safety. Their eyes move before their words do. They're checking your expression, your tone, your energy. They want to know one thing: am I safe here? Am I wanted, but not needed? That question governs the entire way they show up after distance. Inside, they feel a familiar rush, a mixture of curiosity, relief, longing, and fear. Yet what they present is calm neutrality. They might look away quickly, pretend to be busy, or greet you with a casual tone that seems almost indifferent. But it's not indifference. It's self-protection. They've learned that showing desire threatens their autonomy, so they mask it with composure. And while the world sees someone who looks unaffected, their inner world is replaying memories, emotions, and unresolved conversations. They remember the last thing you said. They remember the silence. They remember the closeness they tried not to need. Avoidants feel deeply. They just don't reveal deeply. Then something else happens instantly. They test. Not overtly, not in a dramatic way, but subtly. They may offer a small smile, a half-hearted joke, a comment about something unrelated. These are emotional thermometers. They're checking the temperature of the moment. Are you warm? Are you distant? Are you upset? Are you still open to them? They need to know this before they let even a single brick slip from the walls they built. If they see you are calm, composed, and not demanding anything from them, their body relaxes by a degree you can barely notice. Their shoulders soften, their tone shifts, their guard lowers in micro increments. Because avoidants don't respond to pressure, they respond to emotional safety. And in that instant, when you show no expectation, they feel drawn in. They feel seen. They feel that rare feeling of freedom in connection. But if they sense disappointment, tension, or emotional intensity, they retreat. Not physically, but emotionally. They shift back into distance, back into logic, back into the fortress of their thoughts. When you see an avoidant after no contact, the truth is simple. They are affected. They are stirred. They feel more than they want to admit. But they reveal it slowly, cautiously, like someone touching cold water with the tip of their fingers. If they trust the temperature, they move closer. If they sense danger, they step back. Their behavior is not rejection, it's self-preservation. And their silence is not apathy, it's armor. Yet beneath that armor, something soft stirs the moment you reappear. Something human, something emotional, something they wish they could express, but fear they cannot hold if they lose control. And that instant, subtle, silent reaction is where the truth of an avoidant's heart finally speaks. The first reaction of an avoidant after no contact is emotional restraint, and this response happens almost instantly and almost involuntarily. It is not something they consciously plan or deliberately calculate. It is a reflex shaped by years of emotional conditioning and reinforced by past experiences that taught them closeness can be overwhelming, unpredictable, or even dangerous. When they see you again after silence, their instinct is not to run, not to attack, not to show indifference, but to pull everything inward like a turtle retreating into its shell the moment a shadow passes overhead. This emotional withdrawal is their way of stabilizing themselves when their nervous system feels a spike of intensity, and seeing someone they cared about or wanted to care about after a period of absence triggers more intensity than they are comfortable admitting. Inside, their emotions surge quickly, almost like a wave hitting a wall. They might feel relief because the silence is finally over, curiosity because they wonder how you've changed, nostalgia because memories return faster than they expected, and anxiety because they aren't prepared for the unpredictable nature of human connection. Yet despite this complex mix of internal reactions, their face remains composed, their voice level, and their posture controlled. They act as if nothing significant has happened, as if your reappearance is just another ordinary moment in their day. This composure is not a sign of apathy, but a form of emotional management. For an avoidant, managing emotion means hiding emotion because showing it threatens the fragile balance they need to feel safe. As soon as they see you, their mind starts working faster than they can consciously track. They begin regulating themselves before the first word is even spoken. Their breathing becomes slightly shallower, their body slightly tenser, and their thoughts begin organizing themselves around control. They cannot afford to appear vulnerable, surprised, eager, or thrown off balance. Their greatest fear in intimate situations is losing autonomy or appearing as though someone else has power over how they feel. So their first objective is to regain internal equilibrium, to bring their emotions back down to a level where they feel in control. This is why avoidants often seem calm, cool, or detached when someone reappears after no contact. They are not calm, they are controlling. The energy they put into keeping their emotions hidden is intense, but to the outside observer, it looks like they are unaffected. They become hyper-aware of their facial expressions, their tone, and their body language. They choose neutral responses because neutrality feels safe. They avoid eye contact for too long because eye contact feels exposing. They keep conversations surface level because depth feels like a risk they are not yet ready to take. Their restraint is their shield. At the same time, this restraint doesn't mean they feel nothing. In fact, avoidants often feel too much too quickly, which is precisely why they shut down their outward expression. They may remember the connection that once existed, the conflicts that created distance, or the warmth that made them uncomfortable because it pulled them closer than they wanted to be. They may think about what the silence meant, whether you expected something from them or whether you're upset. None of these thoughts are soothing. They are destabilizing, and destabilization is the one thing an avoidant fears more than intimacy itself. So the moment they see you, they pull back internally because pulling back keeps them stable. Avoidants also worry about misreading situations or being misunderstood. They may wonder if you want closeness again or if you're simply being polite. They may fear being judged for the distance they created or for the silence they maintained. These fears remain unspoken, but they influence their behavior. Their restraint is a way of preventing these worries from escalating. If they show too much emotion too soon, they fear it will invite expectations, questions, or vulnerability they are not prepared to face. Another layer of emotional restraint comes from their desire to assess your state before allowing their own emotions to show. Avoidants are observational by nature, especially in emotionally significant encounters. They watch, they analyze, they interpret. They study your tone, your facial expression, your openness, and your mood. They need to know what environment they are stepping into before they let their guard down, even a fraction. This is not manipulation. It is emotional self-defense. They cannot afford to misstep in moments that feel emotionally charged, so they hold themselves back until they understand the situation clearly. Their emotional restraint also reflects a long-standing belief that independence equals safety. Showing emotion feels like surrendering control, and surrendering control feels dangerous. So they choose the posture that protects them, even if that posture hides genuine feelings or creates emotional distance that wasn't necessary. The moment they see you again, this belief activates like muscle memory, pulling them into familiar patterns of keeping everything inside. This restraint is not rejection, nor is it indifference. It is simply the avoidant way of maintaining inner balance during a moment of emotional unpredictability. Their heart reacts quickly, but their behavior reacts cautiously. And in that gap between feeling and expression, their entire avoidant nature reveals itself. The second reaction an avoidant has the moment they see you after no contact is an instinctive scan for emotional safety, and this process begins even before a single word is exchanged. It is not a conscious decision, but a reflex, similar to how someone flinches when something moves too close to their face. The avoidant attachment style is built on a deep belief that closeness can turn into pressure and emotional intimacy can turn into entrapment. So when you reappear after silence, their mind immediately begins evaluating whether you represent emotional safety or emotional risk. This first internal scan determines everything that will happen next: how they speak to you, how much they reveal, how close they stand, and how open they allow themselves to be. Their eyes become the first tool in this assessment because avoidants rely heavily on observation when they feel uncertain. They watch your face, looking for anything that might indicate unresolved anger, expectations, disappointment, or emotional demand. Their gaze moves quickly, almost instinctively, from your expression to your posture, then to the small details: the way you breathe, your tone when you say hello, the energy around your presence. Every tiny cue becomes data to them, helping them decide whether this moment is safe or dangerous. Avoidants have learned that emotional closeness requires a level of vulnerability that feels overwhelming, so the possibility that you might want to reconnect or revisit past emotions immediately activates their internal alarm system. This doesn't mean they don't want connection. It means they fear the cost of connection. So they scan to see whether you're approaching them with softness or intensity, whether your energy feels calm or heavy, and whether your presence feels like choice or need. They are hypersensitive to any sign that you might want something from them emotionally, because needing something from them feels like pressure, and pressure feels like a threat to their autonomy. If they sense even a small amount of emotional expectation, they instinctively tighten and pull inward, sometimes so subtly that you won't notice unless you know what to look for. During this scan, they are also evaluating the emotional history between you. Avoidants never truly forget how a connection made them feel, even if they acted distant. They remember the last conversation, the tone of the silence, the moment the distance began, and the emotions that were left hanging in the air. When you reappear, these memories flash quickly through their mind, and they check to see whether those unresolved emotions might resurface. They fear conflict, they fear emotional intensity, and they fear being drawn back into situations where they might feel exposed. So they look for indications that the past has softened. If you greet them with warmth, calmness, and no visible frustration, they relax slightly. If your energy is neutral, they feel more in control. But if they sense tension, disappointment, or unspoken questions, their walls go up instantly. Their scan for emotional safety is not just about you, it's also about themselves. Avoidants constantly monitor their internal state to make sure they don't reveal too much, react too strongly, or seem too invested. They watch their own breaths, control their facial expression, and regulate their tone because they fear slipping into vulnerability without meaning to. This internal watchfulness is exhausting, but it is how they prevent emotional overwhelm. The moment they see you, they are not only reading you, they are also regulating themselves, keeping their emotions on a short leash so they don't betray what they actually feel. Another layer of the scan involves imagining the possible outcomes of the interaction. Avoidants are cautious strategists when it comes to emotional encounters. They think about where this moment could lead. Will talking to you invite more conversation? Will more conversation invite emotional closeness? Will closeness lead back to old patterns or new expectations? Their mind tries to predict the emotional chain reaction, and this prediction determines how open they will allow themselves to be. If the possible outcomes seem manageable, they stay present. If the outcomes seem unpredictable, they retreat behind emotional neutrality. Their need for emotional safety makes them unusually sensitive to your slightest reactions. A small smile, a soft tone, or relaxed body language lets them breathe easier. These signals tell them that you are not here to confront, demand, or reopen old wounds. In these safe moments, their guard lowers by a degree, and you might see a brief warm expression, a softer voice, or a hint of relief. But if you show sadness, anger, or eagerness for connection, their guard spikes immediately. They don't see emotions as expressions of care, they see them as signals of potential pressure, so they adjust their behavior to create distance, even if they don't physically step away. This scan for emotional safety is also a way for them to maintain control. Avoidants feel safe when they know what to expect, and no contact periods create uncertainty. When you reappear, they need to gather information quickly to restore predictability. The safer you seem, the more they can relax into the moment. The more uncertain you seem, the tighter their emotional grip becomes. Ultimately, their instant scan is not about judging you, but about protecting themselves from emotional vulnerability they feel unprepared to handle. They are cautious, not unfeeling. They are observant, not detached. And in the moment they see you again, their entire internal world mobilizes to determine whether this moment will be one they allow themselves to feel or one they must defend themselves against. When an avoidant sees you after a period of no contact, one of the most telling reactions happens quietly and subtly. They show signs of longing without admitting it. This longing doesn't appear in obvious ways like warm greetings, emotional openness, or enthusiastic conversation. Instead, it shows up in micro-expressions, in small hesitations, in the tiny cracks in the emotional armor they work so hard to maintain. Avoidants are skilled at suppressing their feelings, often so skilled that even they don't fully realize how much they've missed someone until that person is standing in front of them. Yet the body reacts before the mind can hide it. Their eyes soften for a second, their posture changes almost imperceptibly, or their breath catches in their throat for just a moment. These reactions are involuntary, and because they are involuntary, they reveal the truth they don't want to speak. Longing in an avoidant rarely looks like longing. It looks like a flicker of surprise that stays a fraction too long. It looks like scanning your face to see if you seem different or familiar. It looks like their voice becoming slightly quieter or warmer even though they're trying to sound neutral. Their defenses tell them to appear unaffected, but their emotional memory works against those defenses. Seeing you again reminds them of the comfort they once felt, the connection they tried to downplay, and the emotional pull they may have spent weeks or months pushing away. Even if they told themselves they were fine without you, their nervous system reacts differently. The sight of you triggers a feeling they didn't plan for, and that feeling leaks out in subtle, unnoticed ways. Their longing also reveals itself through attention. Avoidants avoid emotional intensity, yet when they've missed someone, they cannot help but monitor them more closely than usual. They watch how you move, how you speak, how you carry yourself. They look for signs of change. Did you become more confident, more distant, more self-contained? This close observation is not judgment. It is curiosity mixed with emotional investment. They want to know if you are still the person they once felt something for, and whether you still carry pieces of the connection they once tried to suppress. They pay attention to small details because their longing makes them hungry for information, while their defenses prevent them from asking directly. Another sign of avoidant longing comes through hesitation. They may pause before responding to your greeting, before answering a question, or before walking away. These pauses are tiny windows where their emotions try to surface. Part of them wants to say something genuine, something like, "It's good to see you," or "I missed you," but another part pulls them back into restraint. That inner conflict creates brief moments of stillness or awkwardness, moments where you can feel something unspoken trying to break through. They may even start to say something meaningful, then switch it to something casual at the last second. The shift is barely noticeable unless you listen closely. Their longing can also appear through nervousness. Avoidants hide vulnerability, but when someone they've missed is suddenly in front of them, their body can betray them. They might fidget with their hands, avoid prolonged eye contact, adjust their clothing, or shift their weight repeatedly. They may speak too quickly or too slowly, as if trying to regulate their emotions by controlling the rhythm of their voice. These nervous behaviors are not signs of disinterest. They are signs of emotional activation. Their longing makes them feel exposed, and exposure makes them anxious. They are trying to manage feelings they wish they didn't have. They might also bring up small memories without realizing it. They'll mention something you once talked about, reference a place you both went to, or recall a detail they shouldn't logically remember. Avoidants pretend to forget things, but they rarely forget emotional experiences. Longing keeps those memories close, even when they try to push them away. When these memories slip out of their mouth casually, it reveals how much space you still occupy in their inner world. They may quickly move on to another subject, but the slip has already happened. Even physical distance says something. Avoidants often maintain space between themselves and others, but when they've missed someone, they stand slightly closer than usual. Not close enough to seem vulnerable, but close enough to feel connected without admitting they want it. Their body moves toward you before their mind reminds them to step back. Perhaps the strongest sign of longing comes from the way they listen. Avoidants don't normally give full emotional attention, but when they've missed someone, they absorb every detail as if trying to fill the gap created by silence. Their eyes stay on you longer. Their responses become more thoughtful. Their attention sharpens even though they pretend to be casual. They want to reconnect, but they don't know how to do it openly, so they do it quietly, through presence instead of words. Their longing is hidden because showing it feels dangerous. If they let it out, they fear the possibility of expectation, vulnerability, or emotional closeness they may not be ready for. So they let it appear only in moments so small they hope you won't notice. But those small moments speak the truth of how deeply avoidants feel, even when they believe they're successfully hiding it. When an avoidant sees you after no contact, one of the strongest reactions they experience is the need to appear unaffected. This moment activates their self-protection system instantly, and their first instinct is to tighten their emotional posture so nothing vulnerable slips through. They may feel a rush of emotion when they see you again, relief, curiosity, regret, even longing. But all of that gets pushed down and covered with calmness, control, or neutrality. This appearance of being unaffected is not a reflection of how little they care. It is a reflection of how much they need to protect their ego from being seen as emotionally exposed. To an avoidant, vulnerability is not a natural gesture. It is a threat to their autonomy, and autonomy is their internal anchor. So the moment they're confronted with someone who once mattered, someone they have history with, or someone they silently missed, they instinctively build a wall of composure. Avoidants are deeply aware of how their emotions can betray them. They fear looking like they cared more than the other person, fear looking like they're hurting, or fear showing signs of having been affected by the silence. so they adopt a kind of emotional poker face. Their tone becomes even, their expressions become controlled, and their gestures become measured. They might give a polite smile, a short nod, or a casual, "Hey," all intended to project the message that they are perfectly fine. Inside, their emotions may be racing, but outside, they look like nothing unusual has happened. This facade is not arrogance, it is self-protection. The avoidant ego is built on the belief that emotional independence is strength, and needing something or someone is weakness, so they hold tightly to the image of composed detachment. Yet this performance of indifference takes effort. Avoidants monitor themselves carefully in those first few moments. They pay attention to their own voice to make sure it doesn't sound too warm, too excited, or too relieved. They watch their facial expressions to prevent any softness from showing. They're even careful with their breathing because deep breaths can betray anxiety or emotional activation. This self-monitoring is a silent, constant process, one they've practiced for most of their lives. They have trained themselves to protect their emotions by masking them, especially around people who matter. So when they appear cool or unbothered, they are not simply being distant. They are regulating themselves intensely. The avoidant ego interprets emotional intensity as danger. If you were important to them, even a little, seeing you again after silence touches emotions they don't know how to handle directly. So they act neutral to create a buffer between their inner world and the outer situation. They act like they don't remember details they do remember. They act like they don't care about the silence that actually triggered thoughts, doubts, or fantasies. They act like your reappearance doesn't stir anything in them. The act is meant to keep you from seeing any crack in their armor, because a visible crack feels like vulnerability, and vulnerability feels like losing control. This need to appear unaffected isn't just about protecting themselves from you. It's also about protecting themselves from their own emotions. Avoidants struggle to sit with feelings they cannot predict or contain. Seeing you after no contact can pull up unresolved emotions they don't want to confront: guilt, desire, confusion, fear, or attachment. By acting composed, they convince themselves that they are still in control. Their ego uses the cool exterior as a psychological shield to prevent the emotional wave from rising too high. Even if their heart reacts, their mind silences it by tightening their behavior. Their need to appear unaffected also comes from not wanting you to interpret their emotions incorrectly. Avoidants worry that if they show softness, you'll think they want commitment. If they show excitement, you'll assume they missed you deeply. If they show relief, you might expect closeness. Their instinct is to underplay their feelings, so you cannot place expectations on them. They fear being pulled into a dynamic where they may need to explain their emotions or respond to yours. To avoid this, they choose neutrality, because neutrality gives them control without having to reject you outright. Often, their seeming indifference is simply fear disguised as confidence. They fear being hurt again. They fear saying the wrong thing. They fear revealing feelings that might lead to emotional entanglement. They fear losing the emotional distance they worked hard to rebuild during the no-contact period. So they adopt a demeanor that says, "I'm fine. Everything is fine. I'm unaffected." But beneath that posture is a complexity they hope no one sees. Ironically, their attempt to appear unaffected means the moment affects them deeply. They wouldn't need a mask if they didn't care. They wouldn't need distance if closeness didn't pull at them. They wouldn't need control if you didn't have the power to make them feel something. And although they might believe they're hiding everything, the effort itself is the clearest sign that seeing you again has stirred something real inside them. When an avoidant sees you after a period of no contact, one of the first things they do is quietly test the emotional temperature before re-engaging. This testing is subtle, almost invisible, yet deeply intentional. Avoidants are cautious by nature, especially when dealing with someone who once had emotional significance in their life. They don't step back into connection all at once. They approach it in small, careful increments. These tests help them determine whether the situation is safe, whether you are calm or upset, whether your intentions are light or heavy, and whether reconnecting will lead to emotional pressure or emotional balance. Their fear is not you. It is the possibility of being pulled into vulnerability too quickly or feeling expected to explain themselves before they are ready. So they gather information through quiet, indirect methods rather than asking direct questions. One of their first tests is tone. They listen closely to how you greet them, how you say their name, how your voice rises or falls. A calm, steady tone signals safety. A disappointed or emotional tone makes them cautious. They also test through small talk. They might ask a casual question or make a surface-level comment to see how you respond. If you answer lightly, comfortably, and without emotional weight, they relax slightly. If you respond with tension, urgency, or unresolved feelings, they retreat behind their guard. These conversational tests give them clues about what emotional landscape they're stepping into. Avoidants also test through body language. They might stand at a slight distance at first, watching how you adjust. If you move closer in a relaxed, natural way, they feel safer. If you come too close too quickly, they might pull back. This space testing is their way of measuring whether you respect emotional boundaries without needing to declare them aloud. They also pay attention to your eyes, whether you look at them with softness, frustration, longing, or neutrality. Your eyes tell them whether the moment is peaceful or heavy, and they respond accordingly. Another test is emotional pacing. Avoidants will take things slowly and see if you match that pace. If you allow the conversation to unfold naturally, without rushing or probing, they begin lowering their defenses bit by bit. If you jump into emotional topics, ask for explanations, or bring up the past immediately, they reinforce their emotional distance. Their tests are not meant to manipulate. They are meant to protect themselves from overwhelming interactions. Through these subtle tests, avoidants determine whether reconnection is possible without losing their sense of autonomy. The gentler and more pressure-free the interaction feels, the more they open. The moment they feel intensity or expectation, they revert to self-protection. Their quiet testing is simply their way of making sure emotional safety exists before they let even a small piece of their guard fall.